This video is going to be mostly the text from a blog post that I wrote 4 years ago in 2013 about Nerdfighteria and being unironically enthusiastic. Nerdfighteria is not a fandom, posits one commenter on a John Green Facebook post. I don't ask you to believe this by the end of this video, but I do agree with John in his aspiration that being a nerdfighter should be values-based. Quick introduction. The term Nerdfighters arose as a term to describe the people who watch the videos of John and Hank Green. It's grown to describe a community of people, including John and Hank themselves, who identify as nerds and take on the responsibility to improve the world however they can. The goal in Nerdfighter terms is to decrease world suck, and there's an actual non-profit organization now to do that. John and Hank talk about the Bank of Nerdfighteria as a description of all the quantifiable charity the community has generated. On a more personal level, the community touches individual lives by inspiring people to be comfortable with themselves as human beings. Nerdy human beings. I like to refer to John Green himself to define being a nerd, and my favorite way to do that is to link to this video, in which Will Wheaton reads a Tumblr post that's a mashup of two separate John Green videos. In that video, Will Wheaton quotes John Green and reads, "Saying I notice you're a nerd is like saying, hey, I noticed you'd rather be intelligent than stupid, that you'd rather be thoughtful than vapid, that you believe that there are things that matter more than the arrest record of Lindsay Lohan. Nerds like us are allowed to be unironically enthusiastic about stuff. Nerds are allowed to love stuff, like jump up and down in your chair, can't control yourself, love it. When people call people nerds, mostly what they're saying is, you like stuff. That's not a good insult at all. Like, you're too enthusiastic about the miracle of human consciousness. This is what I identify with, and anyone who knows me should be able to verify that unironically enthusiastic is how I live my life. If you know me and you don't know this, I apologize. Let's go grab some delicious cocoa together and chat more. I'm an enthusiastic introvert. What can you do?" I love this definition of nerdiness because it should help nerds of all kinds recognize that there are infinite ways to be nerdy. When lived and understood truly, being a nerdfighter means imagining people complexly and appreciating them for who they are. So if someone belongs to a different fandom, they are still nerds just like you. The next thing that I wrote in this post contains something that is not accurate anymore, but I will read it and then correct it. I had written, "Many nerdfighters like Sherlock and Doctor Who, but I've never seen Sherlock, and the 2 Doctor Who episodes I've seen scared the pants off me, and I haven't watched any more yet. But I don't feel excluded from the nerdfighter community. I just have some different enthusiasms." The sentiment of that is still accurate, but I have, since then, gotten into both Sherlock and Doctor Who, so oops. Coming at Nerdfighteria from this perspective, I had a really hard time watching this video by the series Becoming YouTube. It shows how some people unfamiliar with the Nerdfighter community view our community, and it's somewhat troubling. Mainly I came away from it truly distressed that there are Nerdfighters out there being such jerks, and they clearly don't recognize that they're being an ambassador for their community. But that's true of any community, and the video does admit that you're going to find jerks anywhere when a community gets large. You can scale this to any level. There are people who think all Americans are jerks, for example. We all need to be better ambassadors for every level of community to which we belong. Another troubling aspect of the documentary-style video was that some people seemed to be concerned that Nerdfighteria was promoting social awkwardness. They said that some people were wearing it as a badge, proudly, and that this was a problem. There are several things I take issue with this. First of all, the attitude conveyed by some of the interviewees was that social awkwardness is always a bad thing and always something that needs to be fixed. But the problem is that there are many levels of social awkwardness, and the interviewees seem to be grouping all introverts into the socially awkward and needs to be fixed category. One of them said that it might be okay to be proud of your awkwardness with other awkward people if that gets you to get out and socialize with people. What? I'm perpetually frustrated by the inability of some extroverts to believe that many introverts are quite happy the way they are. Introversion is a way of looking at yourself and the world. It's not a medical condition, and it doesn't always mean that you can't hold a public conversation now and again. For me, it means that I have a few close friends and they're the ones that I relax with. So I'm a little awkward around other people and in public sometimes. I'm totally okay with that. Side note here, I'm extremely aware that there's a difference between social awkwardness and social anxiety, and that for some people it is very medical and very serious, and I don't want to conflate that with simple social awkwardness. It's just that it felt like that's what the people in the video were doing. This relates to another complaint they had about Nerdfighters, that they don't watch any YouTube channels aside from the ones that John and Hank produce. And once again, my post says something that's not completely accurate anymore, but I'm going to read it and then correct it with what is currently true. My retort to that is that many Nerdfighters are introverts and don't have the time and energy to watch a zillion channels. Just as I'd rather have a few good friends than 100 acquaintances, I'd rather be deeply engaged with a few channels than a dilettante with several dozen. Again, I feel that the sentiment is pretty accurate, but now that I'm actually making YouTube videos, I'm finding myself engaging with more channels of other small YouTubers, and it's really, really awesome. I much appreciated the follow-up to that video, in which the creator interviewed John Green himself about the ideas discussed in the previous video. I still have a vaguely negative reaction to the overall intent and result of those two videos, but I think the ideas that they bring up are important, and they only tie me closer to my identity as a values-based nerdfighter. John Green envisions the future thus: I like the idea of Nerdfighteria being about more than us, and I like to imagine a world in which people identify as nerdfighters or embrace the values of Nerdfighteria without even necessarily knowing who I am. That sounds great to me. I'd like to see Nerdfighteria defined not as a fandom, but as a community of nerdy people who belong to many and disparate fandoms, unified by a set of ideals and an enthusiastic way of looking at the world. Look at your world. What makes you unironically enthusiastic?